What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers pull out a 2-point win behind some more Dame time. This time it happened on both sides of the floor. He hits the game-winning three with 13 seconds left and then ends the game with a charge. Robert Covington ends up missing two free throws there down the stretch, but the Golden State Warriors could not get a half-court heave to go. So Dame not only had the game-winning shot, he had the game-winning defensive stop, standing in and taking a charge against a driving Draymond Green. Damian Lillard makes winning plays, and it's not just on the offensive end. We've seen this before. He has a tendency to step up defensively, even though he's not known as a defensive player. But, when it's crunch time, when it's clutch time, when it's Dame time, he steps up and can get it done on the defensive end as well. So what's going on, guys? Hope you guys enjoyed that game. We have the recap for you as always. Now, I will be honest, there were points of this game that I missed. I watched about 70% of it. Honestly, did not enjoy the first half. The second half was a little bit more enjoyable. I'll get into the reasons why for that. Overall, very happy with the win. Eric, I know you watched this whole thing, so I will kind of let you guide the way a little bit more. What is your takeaways from this game, good and bad? Maybe we could start with the good and then get into some of the bad, and just call it like we see it as always, So I'll just let you talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, people are saying the thumbnail.
The thumbnail's still old?
Shows Hornets, but the one
it's
I
updated.
Posted, yeah, it should be updated.
Yeah, it takes
sometimes it takes a second.
Yeah, it does take a second. So yeah, appreciate you guys checking with us on that though.
So my main takeaway is no matter how bad Dame plays, you can always count on him for some heroics at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, he proves that he's. I think he's the clutchest player in the NBA. Stats this year especially back that up. But he also we had a great contribution from Melo in this game. He was actually really good on both sides of the court. Had a really nice closeout late in the game on Steph Curry on a 3-point shot that was probably going in if he doesn't do that. So I just want to recognize his good game as well. I think that's a charge. I don't know what you think, but he got to the spot. He was still sliding his legs, but you can be moving your legs as long as you beat the person to the spot. You don't have to be set. That's often a misconception. But I feel like he beat Draymond to the spot and took the contact. I think that is a charge. I don't know what you
100% think, is a charge. Yes, that is a misconception that I try and clear up numerous times. It's all about being the player to the spot, not necessarily that your feet are frozen and not moving. You know what I mean? So that's why a lot of times if I disagree with a charge call, whether it's called a charge or a block, normally I'm saying, oh, that was a charge, Dame beat him to the spot. That's why I tweet that specific wordage, because that's actually what the call is supposed to be. And I honestly had that misconception until it was cleared up by good old Damani, because Damani, for any of you that know who we're talking about, he was on our first live stream, draft stream we ever did. He's a refs college ball, and I learned that from him. It's not about having your feet frozen. It's about beating a player to a spot. So if you see somebody on Twitter saying, oh, Dame was moving, his feet was sliding still, or something like that, they don't truly know the rule. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, a lot of people don't know that that's actually how it is. So I don't blame anybody for that, and I used to as well. But it's if you beat the guy to the spot, it's whoever gets to the spot first, essentially.
And for those who say that the refs missed that call, they reviewed it. So, not only did they call it live, but they reviewed it and confirmed the call. So, don't try to act like that was a missed call or they made the wrong decision. They actually went back and looked at it, and So,
yep. So, very, very. I love that type of play from Dame. You love the threes, but there's something special about him stepping up on the defensive end as well, because he gets all this, crap for not being a good defender and struggling defensively lately. I think he was better defensively last year. I think he's kind of regressed slightly this year. He's been through some stuff, so he even admitted there's an article that came out today. He's been through a ton of tragedy in the past 18 months, and sometimes his heart isn't like fully in the game. And given the stuff that he's gone through, I don't blame him. And he's been called out by people who, say to never criticize anyone, true Blazer fan, for not, hustling and stuff defensively. And, it's, he needs to step up and, on the defensive end, but I understand if it's hard for him to get as emotionally invested in that end of the floor, so to say, because that end of the floor is all about heart and hustle and whatnot. And if you're not fully like bought into the game, oftentimes you're going to play a little lackadaisical. So that's why, after that article coming out today and then Dame kind of struggling all game, I was more hyped at him stepping up and taking that charge than him hitting the three, because him hitting the three, that's what he does. That's Damian Lillard. That's Dame time. One of the best offensive players in the game. Him stepping up and taking that charge was something special, so to say.
Yeah, it is. For the people, I saw this a lot on Twitter saying you don't take a charge there and with 5 seconds left, because if it gets called a block and he gets an and one, they take the lead. But Dame's not going to contest that shot. He's not going to block Draymond, so he had an open lane to the hoop. So just the guts it takes to take that charge and to firmly get out of the restricted area, so that's not the issue with whether it was a block or a charge. It's just a great effort play by Dame. And like you said, that's someone whose effort on that end has been questionable for the last few weeks. So it was nice to see him in the moment that it mattered most step up. And I have to say, this game, I don't know, we can talk about whether this was the right or wrong decision, but for a good portion of this game, Dame was the one guarding Steph Curry, not Derrick Jones, not Robert Covington, not Gary Trent. The game plan seemed to be to put Damian Lillard on Steph Curry. Like I said, we could talk about whether that was a good decision or not, but I kind of like just because I guarantee you Dame was like, I want that challenge. Like, give it to me. Like, I'm sick of being questioned. I want to take on this challenge. I want to play good defense on him. We can argue once again whether that was good defense or not, but overall, I like the fact that because I've been bringing this up a lot lately, especially like chatting with other Blazer fans, that hiding Dame and always putting him in a position where no matter what happens, what screens happen, he always is seeming like they just fade him to the guy in the corner and don't want him to move out or do anything, regardless of what happens between the offense. And I feel like a lot of those plays that are being brought up where it's like, watch Dame on this play, he doesn't even move and he gives no effort. It's because that's what he's being told to do, to always stay out of the play or be in this situation, like stay on the off-ball player on the weak side. And if you're constantly being taught that, it makes it really hard to then like step up into a double team or like go through a pick and things like that. So I like challenging him more to be off ball, because like the Warriors, I mean, they guarded Steph with Dame a little bit, but like for the most part, it was like Wiggins and other players that were Bazemore that were guarding Dame. But the difference is when Steph has to like come off ball, like he does it. They don't try to hide him once they get switched or whatever. Whereas we do everything we can to try and hide Dame every possession, and it's almost like it takes effort by all other four players to make up for that. And then when you add CJ into the mix, we try to do the same with him, not quite to that extent, but like somewhat. So like I feel like the more we have him be part of the game plan on defense instead of trying to avoid him being part of the game plan, the more effective our defense could be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And if you're constantly being hidden, it's kind of easy to check out on that end of the floor. You know what I mean? If you're not like truly engaged, just like it's easy to kind of check out offensively if you're just stuck in the corner. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like here's the thing. When it comes to guarding Steph, it's going to be a team effort anyway. Like, no individual defender is going to shut him down, especially with how he's used off the ball and how many screens he runs through. So for me, it didn't really matter who we put up against him individually as much as like who we would guard a Devin Booker with, or, you know, some other guards in the Western Conference, just because of the kind of style of play in which, you know, the Warriors play with. I want to get your thoughts on this. So Steph had 22 in the first half. He had 13 in the second half. Do you think that was just, you know, the flow of the game? Or do you think there was something we did in the second half that we didn't do in the first half that helped hold him to a lower scoring output there in the second?
In the second half, we did throw some traps at him, which was nice to see. Finally, like, thank you. So it was making it a little tougher on him. Mm-hmm. Like I said, the times where we didn't trap, because he does this thing where he passes the ball and then curls around to right back to the 3-point line, and they pass back to him, and a lot of times he's open. And I felt like we did a good job of reacting to those in the second half. I pointed out Melo, especially on one play, basically contested that shot. And then there were several other players that also did a good job of recognizing what he was going to do before he did it and staying attached to him. He did miss a few open shots, so that kind of helped as well. But a lot of those were off of like offensive rebounds and stuff. Looney, especially in the second quarter, just killed us on the offensive boards. Yeah, I thought the way we played defense on Curry in particular was actually pretty good in the second half. So I have to give them credit for actually making an adjustment in the game, something we begged to do, and actually doing something about a shooter that had 20 points in the first half and actually like trying to take him out of the game. You're never going to take a player like Dame or Steph Curry completely out of the game. So I think in the second half, that's about as good as you can do on him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. Like, when Canner trapped, this is the kind of issue that I saw at points in our game. When Canner trapped, especially in the first, you know, he did a couple times in the first half, right? I also think there was more trapping there in the second. You know, it'd be interesting to have like a play-by-play breakdown just to see, you know, the differential. But we were definitely more aggressive at kind of the point of attack and didn't let them control so much of the action offensively. We did a better job defensively in the second half for sure. But when we did trap, there was times where it was like people on social media, on Twitter, were blaming Canner, but Canner was doing an okay job getting up and pressuring, and Curry was able to get the ball out of the trap to the roller, and our help side rotations weren't there. And it was like a Nasir Little not rotating over. And that, I think, is just due to them never running, you know, traps or never hard hedging. And this goes back to kind of my point is, like, we don't do it enough for guys to be able to adjust in a game and have guys execute it properly, you know, the backside rotations, just because they don't have enough repetition to have that feel of where to be on the defensive end. And some people would say, oh, well, that's why you don't trap. No, I think that's why we need to trap more. It shouldn't be every 1 out of 10 games, you know, especially when you got Rocco in at the 5. We should be trapping a lot more. Not necessarily even because it's the best thing to do situationally, which oftentimes it is, and I wish we would do it for that reason, but also because it'll help these guys get more in tune with their responsibilities. You know, if they're guarding the shooter in the corner, and the trap is at the top of the key, you know, they need to rotate over into the lane and take away a potential roller if the ball is able to get out of the trap, and make that roll man make the extra pass. And then if that roll man makes the extra pass, other guys have to scramble and rotate over and help cover. If you don't do that enough, playoffs will come around, and we might face a Golden State team, or we might have to trap a Devin Booker or a Chris Paul because they're, you know, two guards that excel against drop scheme. I don't want it to be something where once the playoffs roll around and we have to trap, we either don't trap because we're not comfortable with it and then we lose because of that, or we do trap and we're not as good at it as we should be simply because we've barely done it all season. So I think that's kind of what I saw with the trapping and hard showing defense at times.
And to your point, that's what happened in the Western Conference Finals. We hadn't trapped all year. And then all of a sudden we get in the Western Conference Finals and run drop coverage in game 1. It doesn't work. We obviously have to trap Curry in game 2, and they haven't done it all year, like you said. So they're a bit slow. They tried their best. It wasn't as bad as it like would be in like a regular season doing it. So if you do it now and then practice, every time you play a player like that, just do it a few times a game so that by the time, like you said, the playoffs come around, you're comfortable doing it, because those few times they hit Draymond, all he had to do is drive in and lob it up to Looney or kick out to an open shooter, and he's got an open shot. Whereas if you have your rotations set a little better, and you can recover quicker because you're just like comfortable doing it, and the comfort's going to be a theme of this show later on when we talk about the offense as well. But it's just a matter of being unpredictable, and we've said this time and time again. Whether you trap every time or run drop scheme every time or whatever, it will never work long in the long term, running the same defense and having the same scheme over and over. You have to switch it against different teams and different players. And the more you do that kind of stuff now, the better it'll be in the playoffs. And it's a perfect example is Toronto in the finals against Golden State after they beat us, runs like a box and one on Steph Curry. And it seems like kind of gimmicky or whatever, but they had run all kinds of gadget defenses throughout the year and do everything they can to make their defense effective against different types of offenses. So like when the coach says, okay, we want you to run a box and one, they're not like, oh, what's that? Or whatever. Like they like know how to execute what the coach wants and all that kind of stuff. So it looks better. And we need that against good teams. Because we're going to eventually run into good teams in the second half of our schedule and then into the playoffs, and we need to be able to do that.
Yep, I agree.
And it's got to start now. So, like, don't just, like, be like, oh, see, we trapped Curry, we did it once, like, whatever. Like, work on it throughout the season so it's good by the end of the season.
Yeah. We got to thank a couple donations. Sorry, I've been making the graphics like I normally do at the start of shows, so sorry if we're a little late on thanking Gray Hughes Investigates. Good to see you. It's been a bit, man. Good to see you in here. Shout out for the $10 donation. I appreciate that. He says, hey, I can finally comment. Melo has been money lately. Good to see. Dame, even when he shot bad, hit that big one. Oh, and everyone support your creators on YouTube. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's Melo's been really good lately. As frustrating as he, when he's bad, he like frustrates me just because of some of the things he does. So I got frustrated at him at the start of last game, and then he pours in 29. Tonight poured in 22. He's on a hot streak right now, and when he's hot, he's a really good bench player. And I will give him his credit. He was very, very good tonight. He's on a good streak. Interesting to see if his 3-point percentage is back up above 40. It was like above 40 to start the season, then it dipped to like 34. I wish he could play like this consistently, or more consistently. You know what I mean?
I don't remember his first shot. Was his first shot a 3? I think it was. And
he missed it, and then his next shot, I think, was a 3, and he made it. And then his next shot was him pump faking on a 3. Draymond, I think it was, bit on the pump fake, and then he took one dribble into his mid-range shot. I am okay with those mid-range shots, like him stepping into it. I think he's actually like pretty efficient at it. I would much rather have that than him, with 14 on the shot clock, out of the post, fading away from 16 feet with a hand in his face and just settling for that, compared to stepping into and not fading away and being wide open because you got ran off the 3-point line, so I thought, he got going that way, and I thought his shot selection was actually pretty good tonight, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he had a good night shooting the ball with, good shot selection.
I actually like, because several times today he turned to the middle instead of baseline. And I like when he turns middle because he almost always draws a foul when he pumps fakes, or he fools the defense because they always think he's going to go baseline, and he has that little 10-foot open shot. So like more of that, and he did a good job at getting to the free throw line tonight a couple times. Just a really, really good game. And if Melo plays like this, he's definitely a person who can help us win games. And you can't even say he was like really bad on defense or anything. Like his defense has been like at least average, maybe even a little above average the last few games as well. So as long as he continues to stay focused on that end and have a great shot selection for him on the other end, I don't think there's not going to be any like, oh, we need to cut Melo or do anything like that. Like that's kind of silly at this point. But like he definitely can help us win games, and he actually kept us in this game when a lot of players were struggling tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I've criticized him for are mostly shot selection and like over helping defensively, right? Because like if he gets blown by on the perimeter guard and point guard, I'm not going to be hard on Melo. He's 36. Like that's to be expected. But it's stuff like, it's silly mistakes defensively that I have a problem with that he shouldn't be making, because he should be, he's a veteran, he's smarter than that. And the main one was always just him over-helping, him just completely leaving the guy alone in the corner and helping when his help wasn't needed. I think he's gotten a little bit better at that, and his shot selection has been better of late. I also think some of his tough shots are falling a little bit more often than usual. But overall, like today, I thought was a really good diet of shots. He got going off the types of shots that I think he needs to start off games with that gets him into a rhythm, which is catch and shoot threes, pump faking and then maybe relocating along the 3-point line and then shooting an open three, or getting ran off the line, pump faking, stepping into a mid-range shot. Those are the types of shots he needs to shoot more of. And I think he's kind of been better in terms of his shot selection lately.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So he had a huge game tonight. He and Dame both tied with for the scoring lead with 22 points apiece. Melo played 32 minutes tonight to pour in his 22. Dame played 36. Leaders in minutes were Gary Trent Jr. playing 40, Robert Covington playing 38. It's kind of crazy how many minutes Rocco and Trent are playing right now. Yeah, we'll get into the players in a bit. You want to talk about offense?
Let's get to the other donos.
Sorry, I forgot to read them. If you can read them off, I'll finish these graphics. Yep.
Near012 with the $5 donation says Blazers played a great third quarter. Curry had like 5 points in that quarter, and Dame was on Curry for the most part. Like we talked about, Dame kind of stepped up. I'm assuming that was him wanting that challenge, which is a great way to show leadership on that end and show people that you're not going to be part of the problem. You're going to be part of the solution. And I thought, the Warriors are a good offensive team. I thought we played decent enough defense in this game. So, but you're right, the third quarter especially, it's nice to come out and play better in the third quarter than to completely mess the game up like we've seen in over the last couple seasons. A lot of times we come out at halftime and completely lose our focus and make it a much harder game than it needs to be. So it's nice to see them come out with some different stuff in the third quarter. But thanks for the dono near zero.
Yeah, appreciate the dono near zero. Good to see you, man. Go ahead and read off the others.
Next, just scrolling down. JM with the $5 donation. What's up, JM? Says, just want to take a second and acknowledge how dang lucky we are to have Dame. What a special freaking player. Yep. It's just amazing. Sorry, like this guy, he literally had the ball, ISO situation, takes a step back, like three-pointer with a guy in his face and like 7 feet behind the line, and it's just nothing but net.
Bro, it was nothing but the very bottom of the net too. Yeah, that barely moved the net.
And this is after he's been struggling most of the game, I don't remember what his final shooting numbers were, but that's not. Like Paul George says, that's not really a good shot, but for Dame it is,
he shoots it with such confidence no matter how he's been shooting the rest of the game. Like he shot that with so much confidence. Like his confidence doesn't waver. And that's something that only the best players in the league have, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like only a select few have unconditional confidence. You could say maybe Gary plays with unconditional confidence, but it's like, I don't know. He has games where he struggles, and it's like he's not the type to take over late. Whereas Dame, it's like he can struggle all game, but he has such confidence in late game situations, no matter how he's played, that he steps up like he did tonight in his 2 very clutch threes to win us the game, and we've seen it time and time and time again. Like his confidence in clutch situations is something special. Like he is so in control of what happens in the final 2-3 minutes of a game, even if he's having the worst game of his life. And it's insane, man. It's I don't know if there's anybody in the league that you can say has the control over the game in the final 2 minutes that Damian Lillard does. There's a lot of great players, but bro, this dude, especially this year, is just automatic. Automatic. And it plays with such confidence, and it doesn't matter anything that happened before. The dude is just with automatic in clutch. You look at his shooting splits in clutch situations this year. It's something insane, man. He is the clutchest player in the league right now. I wouldn't rather have anybody else in clutch time situations than Damian Lillard. That's not my bias talking. The stats back it up, and I'm grateful that we have somebody of his caliber on this team. It's fun to watch.
I put it this way, for most players, I put myself in this category. I could tell myself, oh, be confident with this shot, if I get the ball, in a late game situation, but inside I'm shaking and totally nervous, but I'm okay, you got this. But no matter how hard I tell myself, I'm always going to be nervous shooting the ball in those situations, even if it's a rec game that doesn't even mean anything, right? But for him, I don't even think he needs to tell himself that. He just truly believes it. And it's very rare that someone can have that bad of a shooting night and then all of a sudden be oh, this one's going in for sure. And it's not even he's trying to psych himself up. He just thinks that's how he is. So it's just what he does. And the truly great ones have that characteristic. And if you miss, you're not afraid to miss either. So just a tremendous couple of possessions by Dame on both ends. You could have the worst game ever, but as long as you have a close game, we're always in it, and we always have a chance because of that guy.
Yep. So
and
offense.
0,
yeah, just
12
like the
had
rest.
another
I'm basically done with these.
$5 dono. He says, sorry to spam dono. Never have to apologize for that.
Yeah,
but I don't get why people get so hyped when Melo gets hot. Yes, it's cool to watch, but the whole team stops moving the ball.
Here's my defense. Let me defend it. Just for the Melo stands out there. Yeah. You never say anything good about Melo. It's not like this team moves the ball when he's off the floor. He doesn't. This team just doesn't move the ball no matter who's on the floor. So when Melo gets hot, it's he's bailing out our offense because our offense isn't going to move the ball anyway. You know what I mean? And yes, when he gets hot, it's just a bunch of oftentimes it's a bunch of isolations and the ball isn't moving. But the problem is when he's not hot, it's a bunch of that, and we're screwed because we need somebody to step up and do what Carmelo does in those situations when he does get hot. So I don't. I get hyped because is somebody kind of bailing out our team, just like when Dame gets hyped, because Dame will ISO a lot too when he gets hot and get hot like that, and CJ in the same way. So, I get your point. When he gets hot, it's the offense gets stagnant, and we want to see more movement. But I don't think that's Carmelo's fault at all. That's just the way this team plays. That's something to be critical of Stotts of, and that's Melo kind of bailing out an offense where everybody's just standing around.
Yeah, and there was actually a play tonight that I tweeted out about where Melo caught the ball, and Golden State was kind of in a zone, so there was already 2 people near him, and Melo recognized it right away, and he turned around, and he's yelling, motioning for someone to cut, everyone's just standing around, and then finally, someone on the backside of Golden State dipped in because they thought someone was going to cut, and he swung it to Simons to the corner, who hit a 3, and this is what I've been talking about all along. It's I can't blame Melo for not passing if we don't have anyone for him to pass it to. There was literally no one open when he was begging for someone to be open, and that's just our offense. And like you said, it's not Melo. It's been bad prior to Melo in terms of ball movement. It's been bad with Melo. It's bad when Melo's not on the court. It's bad when he's on the court, and I can't blame any one player for that. It's just the way we prioritize ball movement and moving off ball. It's just not a thing we do very well. And until that changes, I think our offense is still too easy to shut down. But like Melo's smart enough to know if he's being double teamed, someone has to be open if they cut or wide open, and if the defense collapses, that leaves a shooter for a skip pass wide open. And he recognized that on that play. I think he's a vet and smart enough to recognize that if he draws that attention, that those type of plays are open all game. And I wish we would exploit that more as a team mindset, because it's the same whether Simons has the ball or Hood has the ball or Trent has the ball. It's just we don't really think about passing at all for some reason. And until that changes, I think we're going to be kind of stuck having to pull out heroics in games like this.
Yep.
Or maybe we wouldn't need to if we played better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't apologizing for spam Dono. You can spam Dono as much as you want, trust me. Appreciate it, bro. You're always very supportive, and it means a lot to us. Appreciate the kind words from Polly Ross. Just finished making the graphics. Honestly, the star streams, I make the graphics a lot. Sometimes it doesn't take long. Sometimes it takes a little bit. So I'm kind of, not saying a whole lot and kind of not tuned into chat. But yeah, we got you covered. Offensively, there's one more. Shaggy Squid, shout out for the $5 Australian donation. He says, not shot selection was horrible. RIP, glad we got the win. We needed it. Warriors needed to stay away on the standings. LOL. Why is Gary less scrappy on D? ? This was the tiebreaker win over the Warriors, so this was a very crucial game to take care of. We were tied 1-1 in the head-to-head. Of course, we played that back-to-back earlier in the season. We don't play them at all in the second half of the season, so this was the tie-breaking game. So it was almost like 2 wins, because as a team, we could be grouped up with when it comes to Western Conference playoff standings. We could be the 6th seed, and the Warriors could be the 7th seed because we won this game, because not only was it either we lose, they win, or we win, they lose, it was also the tiebreaker. So very, very important game, one of the most important games of the year to win. As far as Nas shooting terrible shots, I don't think he did. He had a drive where he could have maybe drawn a foul. I thought, a different referee crew might have called it a foul when he drove, but it was like a broken possession where he had to drive. There was 8 on the shot clock, so I don't blame him for that. At least he's trying to make something happen and could have gotten sent to the line in terms of that drive in which he airballed a floater. One of his threes was in and out, was halfway down. Another one of his threes was very close as well. That's the thing. That's what has me encouraged with his shot, Eric, is that when he misses, he's very, very close. He's not missing bad at all. And when he's missing, it's barely long or barely short. How many times has he missed left or right so far this season? It's very, very rare. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with how Nas played tonight. He was 0 for 4, but it happens, especially when you're in a stagnant offense that isn't really generating you quality looks.
Yeah, he had a couple of drives, kind of forced some shots. I think he thought he got fouled, but he's not going to get those calls at this point in his career. So if it's not there, kick it out. But a couple of them were against the shot clock too, so he's got to shoot them. I think last game he took a 3 at the end of the half that looked like it got tipped by Biombo or something, and he missed pretty badly. But other than that, I can't remember, like you said, a 3 that didn't either rim out or look pretty good, at least when it left his hands. This is probably his worst game in a while, just based on, not scoring and that kind of stuff. I thought his defense was okay. He was due for a bad game, but like you said, we don't really do anything to get these guys clean looks. Anyway.
I mean, there is something I've noticed though, no matter how he plays, lately he has the highest plus minus on the team. I don't know, and there's a lot of noise with plus minus, so it could just be a coincidence, but there's been multiple games lately where he's had the highest plus minus on the team. Today, he had the highest plus minus on the team at plus 11. Now, there is a lot of noise. I wouldn't say Rodney Hood played good tonight, and he also tied with Nas for the highest plus minus on the team. So, in one game, you can't take it seriously. When there's a trend, though, sometimes it's reflective of something. I don't know. It could be a coincidence. It could be reflective of something. I think this team plays with more energy when he's on the court. He crashes the boards well. It seems like we rebound better when he's in the game. His on-ball defense, he's a little slow-footed right now. Hopefully that's something he can improve, and that will truly unlock his potential as a defender. But, he's decent defensively. And generally, you know, I mean, he was 0 for 4 today, but he's been super efficient all year long. So I would like to see him play more than the 13 minutes he played tonight. It seems like he plays better when he gets more minutes. Last game he played well. He played 20 minutes. I don't know why we didn't run, you know, that. Why didn't we bring out that backdoor set that we got him a lob off of last game? Why didn't we try that once this game? For Derrick Jones Jr. or him?
Because our offense was clicking so well. Until Dame hit those shots, right?
Yeah, you know, 42% from the field and 29% from three. Yeah, we couldn't afford to run a backdoor potential dunk lob for Nasir.
Wait, I forgot, Tari. Gordon has the best point. It's because we don't have Aaron Gordon or Draymond Green, so we can't run that.
Yeah, but Eric, we ran it last game and it worked.
I know, but that doesn't matter. You're fooled by that. Like we can't do it more than one time ever. So.
Yeah, you're right. Shoot, man. Yikes. But that narrative, man, I'm so tired of it, and we heard it all night today. If you follow us on Twitter, shout out to you. If you don't, make sure you follow us. Our ats are on our name tags below us. But yeah, Twitter was fun today, so to say. Also kind of annoying. You guys, if you follow us, you probably know what we're talking about in terms of the annoying part. But yeah, overall, what did you think about how we responded to the trap? Because they trapped Dame hard. What do you think about how we responded to that?
So here's what I don't like. So Dame passes out of the trap, right? What do we beg for them to do? Is attack 4-on-3, because they have 4 offensive players and only 3 defensive players. But every time it seemed like in this game someone caught the ball, they look back to pass to Dame. They don't look to attack, and that's something they're being told, to give the ball back to Dame. So like I don't like that. And then I don't like always setting a pick. Like, why does Dame succeed on these shots in the clutch? They're mostly ISO situations, right?
Yeah.
So where he's not getting a pick, like that last shot he made, it's because we didn't send a pick, so it's harder for the other team to double team. So he gets a more confident look only against one guy instead of 2. And so I just wish we would do more of that. Like, just let him ISO if we want to give him, like, bring him the ball up and we don't want to play him off the ball. Don't bring the screener, and especially don't bring it. It seems like a lot of times we bring it from whoever one of their good defenders is guarding, which doesn't make sense to me either. But I think we could do a lot better job of taking advantage of that, and that'll be something I continue to point out until it gets better, because that is a way to make our team reach the ceiling it's capable of doing, is if we figure out a way to take advantage of an open man pretty much at all times during the second half of this game when they trap it on almost every play.
Yep. There was a trap situation. Let me bring up the clipboard here really quick. I should just have this ready to go. Yeah, I need to just have this ready to go from the get-go, because I definitely want to bring this up more. But let me pull it up here. There was a play where we got trapped, and it ended with a Derrick Jones Jr. 3. And Derrick Jones Jr.'s stat line, he shot 6 shots and 4 of those were threes. He was 0 for 2 inside the arc. I think that him shooting 2 shots inside the arc is indicative of us kind of struggling to beat the trap, because you got this guy who's a phenomenal cutter and lob target, and you can't even get him shots around the rim. He played only 19 minutes tonight. He honestly didn't even play that bad. He was 2 for 4 from 3. You know, you love that. Derrick Jones Jr. has been shooting the ball well, but it's like you got this cutter and lob target. You got to set things up in a way to go downhill and utilize his ability to catch lobs and his ability to cut to the rim and finish. So I don't know. I'll let you touch on that while I set this up. I'm struggling here.
Yeah, I mean, the more a team traps and focuses attention out above the 3-point line, the more there's always a path for a cutter to get an open shot. And that's what you saw with Draymond Green. And, you know, earlier in the season, I was kind of joking with the point guard Melo thing, but I think he would be a great person to put in the middle of the paint, right around the free throw line, a little above between the free throw line and the 3-point line. And if you pass to him and no one comes up on him, he can hit that 15-foot shot. And if you tell him, okay, you're going to get the ball and you're going to have Derek Jones Jr. or Nas Little or someone cutting to the basket, all you have to do is dump it off to them for a layup or a dunk. I think he's more than capable of doing that. And anyone who tells you that we don't have anyone who can make that easy of a pass is ridiculous, in my opinion, and should be banned from having a show talking about basketball. But again, another topic. But yeah, there's just so many things we can do out of that, and we just seemingly are surprised by it every time, and then don't really have a way to force the action or get them out of it. Because like I mentioned earlier in the show, Draymond Green gets the ball on that thing, and it's not because he's like some all-world player. I mean, Nurk can make some of those backdoor passes he made to a cutters, and Melo can do that. Like, these players are capable of making a simple pass. But I mean, obviously he's an elite passer and he can make passes that some can do, but we're not trying to say that he has to make some sort of insane pass. The guy will be wide open because someone has to be open.
Well, yeah.
If you have two players on Dame. So it's not like you have to pass someone open like you're an NFL quarterback and all your guys are covered by corners or something.
Let me just like showcase that. So there was a possession. This might have been Cantor or Trent. It might have been Cantor up here and like Trent was in the corner. Either way, like I think it might have been Trent. It might have been like a hand. I don't remember. It might have been Cantor. I forget. Let's just use Trent. So there was a screen for Dame to go towards the sideline, like we kind of play into the trap, right? I wish I had the footage. I wish we could break down footage here, but sadly this is the best we got. And Dame gets trapped here and passes it to I believe this was Trent, because this guy stepped up to Trent off of Derek Jones Jr. That's why I'm pretty sure it was Trent, because, why would they step out on Cantor? If this was Cantor, this guy still stepped up to whoever this was. So, don't really worry about that. You got to guard Trent at the 3-point line, right? You set a screen with Gary Trent Jr. and both guys go with the ball and Trent, pops out to the 3-point line. You can't live with this. I mean, I would like to see like Trent go to the rim, and then create a 2-on-1 here or whatever. But like as a 3-point shooter, wide open 3, this is the shot you want out of a trap. We don't generate a wide open 3 for a great shooter out of the trap all that often. They ended up taking this away, and he swung it to Derek Jones Jr., who was just spotting up from 3, and he shot a 3 and missed it, right? This guy stayed home on Rocco, and this defender wasn't really in the play. In this situation, you have, if this is Cantor, if this is Nurkic when he's back, if this is Rocco, whoever this is, right, and they flare out, you want them to either get a wide open 3 or a wide open driving lane, okay? If they're like a guy like Cantor, you want them to go towards the rim. If they're a shooter like Gary Trent Jr., pop behind the arc, same thing, right? Basically, that's going to make them have to rotate over, okay? Or else, this is a wide open 3 for Trent, or it's like Cantor rumbling to the rim and maybe he has a shooter out here who's spacing the floor, and it's a 2-on-1 situation if you go to the rim, if this is like Cantor here and Trent in the corner, right? And this guy would have to decide between two. But in this play that I'm talking about, you have Derek Jones Jr.'s guy go over and take away the shot from Gary Trent Jr. He swung the ball to Derek Jones Jr., who missed a 3. This guy stayed home on Rocco. Why don't you just cut back door? This is a lob, right? Mm-hmm. This is a lob. Or if this guy like helps over, right when this guy turns his head, Derek Jones Jr. should be cutting, right? So it should be catch, and if maybe not a lob, maybe like a bounce pass. Lead him into this. And then it's a 2-on-1 situation here. If this guy gets sucked down, I think Derek Jones Jr. could see a guy like rotating in front of him, stop, and make a basic chest pass out to an open Robert Covington 3. Or, if this guy doesn't help, and this guy helps, stop, wrap around, bounce pass, lay in for Cantor. If nobody helps, you get a dunk. You know what I mean? It's very basic basketball, but it's like, instead, this guy helps over, and Derek Jones Jr. just camps at the 3-point line. It's I would have ran this, if I saw that and Derek Jones Jr. missed the 3, I would have tried to get in his ear next time cut, maybe call a timeout or talk about it the next time out and set things up the same exact way, where you're running that screen, inviting the trap to Dame, getting the ball to Gary Trent Jr. This is 2 guards, so it's pretty easy to get the ball out of this trap, right? And then using the trap against them. This guy has to rotate. You have a numbers advantage here, okay? But don't, with a guy like Derrick Jones Jr., it's frustrating when we have this numbers advantage and it just results in him shooting a 3. I think this guy closed out, so it was even like a little bit contested, and it just ends up with a great cutting and lob target and, a finisher around the rim who's not that great of a 3-point shooter shooting a 3. And that's why when like people criticize Aminu, like, oh, we can't beat the trap because Aminu can't shoot 3s all that well. That's why that argument was BS, because there's a number of times where Aminu could simply cut into the open void that's in here because they're so rotated out towards Dame and then the release valve. And he could have, gotten a dunk or made basic passes, out to this guy if this guy helps, or if this guy helps, basic wraparound bounce pass. Aminu could make that pass. Derrick Jones Jr. can make that pass. Robert Covington can make that pass. It's literally basic basketball. So that was kind of an example of us just not exploiting the trap like we should. I wish we could show the footage of it, but it was one of his 2 missed 3s was a play like that.
Yep. Perfect breakdown.
So anyway, there's just multiple ways to beat the traps. Like, okay, let me just get deep with you guys for a second. All right, there are multiple ways in which you can exploit a trap where you're not relying on people having to be elite playmakers. You have these people out there with certain platforms that think you have to have a Draymond Green or an Aaron Gordon to have any success beating a trap. Yet when we trap, almost apparently we can't trap because every team will have good success if we trap, right? It's a contradiction. It's a catch-22. If you needed such elite playmaking personnel to beat traps, then why don't we trap all the time? But we don't, because most teams know how to, make basic. Every player in the NBA knows how to make a basic pass, whether it's chest pass, whether it's like cutting and driving the lane and somebody rotates over and you come to a jump stop and pivot and pass out to a 3-point shooter, or it's, driving the lane and the big guy's man comes over and helps and it's stopping and wrapping the ball around him to a big man. Like, those are very basic basketball plays that almost every player in the NBA can make, but you have people out here with certain platforms that try and make it out like, well, we can't do that because we don't have the personnel to make those plays. And it's a horrible excuse for us not making those plays. Like, it doesn't fly because most basketball players in the NBA and even college for that matter can make basic passes. Like, the fact that people who are paid to talk about basketball sit here and act like NBA players can't make those plays is just absolutely ridiculous to me, right? Kent Bazemore, I saw him make that play numerous times tonight. Numerous times. But when we had him last year, we didn't have the personnel to break a trap, right? But, now that Kent Bazemore is in Golden State, all of a sudden, he's one of those players that helps them break the traps that we set on Steph. You know what I mean? It's a BS argument that we don't have the personnel to do that. We need to get better at exploiting the trap. We could have a ton of success exploiting the trap, but we kind of, it's stuff like that where it results in Derrick Jones Jr. shooting a 3 when he could have probably had a dunk, and to stop the dunk, they would have had to rotate off a better 3-point shooter like a Robert Covington. I'd rather have Robert Covington shooting an open 3 than a Derrick Jones Jr., or somebody has to rotate off Kanter, and Kanter has an easy lay-in if Derrick Jones Jr. can make a basic pass, which, guess what? Last year, and shout out to Ty Forshee for kind of pointing this out. I watched a little bit of footage on this. Last year, Derrick Jones Jr. was used in a role where, when they would trap a Jimmy Butler off a pick and roll, they were utilizing Derrick Jones Jr. as kind of a playmaker out of that to beat the trap, to make those passes, to make those very basic passes. And he's capable of doing it. If you watch the Miami Heat last year and you go back and watch some of the footage, you would be able to realize that he can make, a wraparound pass to a big, or drive the lane, come to a stop, pivot, and kick out to a 3-point shooter. But some people act like a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. is incapable of that when he's proven it to us and when most NBA players aren't actually incapable of it. The personnel argument is stupid. We could exploit traps better. It's something that needs to happen so that we can have more playoff success, because that's what we see in the playoffs. Teams trap the hell out of Dame, and we don't do a good enough job of exploiting it. It's not due to personnel. It's just due to how we set things up and us not looking for the right play in 4-on-3 situations behind the trap. That is my TED Talk.
And to add to that, so let's say personnel was the reason, right? But we're injured right now, so we don't have our full personnel, right? But how do you explain, like in the Pelican series, where we have a guy like Yusuf Nurkic, who has averaged, I think, over 3 assists a game since coming to Portland. 1 year he averaged 4 assists.
And that's unlimited minutes, yeah.
And that's like not even like featuring him that much. So why do we continue to run the pick and roll and not utilize any of our passer? Why do we not have CJ? He averaged 5 assists this year. He's totally capable of passing the ball. Why do we still struggle and run pick and roll into the traps, even when we have guys like that who are certainly capable passers? And if you have a lineup that features Dame, CJ, and Nurk, and I don't care who the other two are, you have 3 good options. If you are telling your players, even if CJ, you think he's a ball hog or whatever, if you tell him, I need you to play this way when they tap Dame and be a facilitator and do this. And we've seen in games where Dame doesn't play, he's just as good as Dame at facilitating and running the offense and stuff like that. These guys are more than capable of making these plays.
I'll make this argument for CJ. I think he can make pretty much any pass that Dame can. The thing is just him looking for it. He's an aggressive scorer, and oftentimes he doesn't, look for certain opportunities, and therefore, people think, oh, he can't pass, he's a black hole because he's shooting shots when he should be making this pass. And it's not because he's incapable of making that pass, it's because he doesn't see it because he's too focused on scoring. This year, he was averaging 5 assists per game. 5 assists per game before he got hurt because he was looking for a bit more. When Dame is out, he looks to facilitate a lot more and, as you said, averages 8-9 assists per game. So he's capable. He is a good passer in my opinion. It just comes down to him looking for it. So if it's emphasized, I think he would, if he had experience kind of being a playmaker, when Dame gets trapped, or maybe, facilitating things instead of playing into the trap in the first place, I think he could very adequately play that role, and especially Yusuf Nurkic. He's a good passing big. You look at the way the Warriors play basketball, bro. Before they got KD, they were the best team in the league because of the style of offense they played. But you look at who they had. Klay Thompson. CJ McCollum is a much better passer than Klay Thompson. They had Harrison Barnes. Okay? He's not a facilitator at all. He's not a better passer than Rocco. I think Rocco's a little better passer than him. They had Draymond Green, right? So I guess that's their one advantage, is the fact that they had Draymond Green compared to like a Derrick Jones Jr. or Robert Covington. And then center, they had Andrew Bogut. I think, Bogut was actually an underrated passer, but Yusuf Nurkic is a better passer than him. So honestly, at 3 of the 4 positions outside of point guard, we have better passing options in our starting lineup when healthy than the Golden State Warriors did when they won 73 games, due in part to them having the most movement and the best ball movement out of any offense in the league. It wasn't just Draymond Green. When he goes to the bench, they still play that way. When they had, a lineup without Draymond and Steph in, they were playing like Michael Mulder and Juan Toscano Anderson and Kent Bazemore, who we had last year, and Kevon Looney. They were still moving the ball very well and making basic passes and basic plays, bro. You put that 5-man bench lineup in Stotts' offense, they're screwed because they would all be standing around looking for one person to make something happen, and they don't have that talent. Like Brad Wanamaker is going to break people down off the dribble and make stuff happen. Hell no, But apparently that personnel is capable of making all these basic passes. Well, ours isn't. It's such a flawed excuse, and that's why I didn't enjoy the first half. I teased this at the start. Let me get into this real quick. I was not enjoying the first half, especially with the bench lineup, because it was so obvious that they did not have better playmaking personnel, but the way the offenses were conducted were insanely different. Insanely different. And we have ISO scorers and whatnot, so yeah, I get that they might have to move the ball a little bit more, but my whole point is why do people really think that we don't have the personnel to move the ball when they're watching this Golden State Warriors lineup move the ball? It's just mind-boggling to me, and it's frustrating to me. So, and just the way they're playing is the way I want us to play. and they're out here trapping Dame, and it's like in the first half we barely trapped Steph, and he goes off for like 16 in the first quarter. Like, that was just extremely frustrating. So I did not enjoy that first half because it's just kind of silly to me. We still end up pulling out the win, but it wasn't a perfect game by any means. There were some things that definitely frustrated me.
And we have our famous peace and love with the, if Aminu, they were leaving Aminu wide open, so the right play was to pass to Aminu, and he was missing threes.
Oh my god. I just explained how a guy can cut when he's left wide open, bro.
Well, no, first of all, we were talking about the Pelican series. So he took 7.5 attempts per game, like Gordon mentioned, hit 43% from three that series. This is what we mean when people try to explain things away for personnel. It is not personnel. And we don't have to have him spot up in the three, like you said. He could cut to the basket. But he was not the reason we lost that Pelican series. He was actually good in that series. And I just want to say, this guy's making dumb comments. So,
what happened?
Did you delete him, Westbrook?
Whose comments?
Oh, he timed him out. So I don't know why he got timed out, but he wasn't cutting, though. Okay.
He wasn't cutting, though? Well, nobody cuts and spots it. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Wait, he just said it's because they were leaving him open and he was missing shots. We blow that up out of the water that you are absolutely 100% wrong, and now you're trying to say something different, like, but he wasn't cutting. Okay, so that's a coaching thing. Do you think Aminu would just stand at the 3-point line if the coach wanted him to cut? And so you're just completely wrong. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And I wanted to say this. It's not just because of peace and love, because this is something I see time and time again whenever you talk about ball movement or personnel or all that kind of stuff. It's like what they say is, why would you want Dame playing off the ball all game? He's better with the ball in his hands. Okay, not one person doesn't want Dame to ever have the ball in his hands. That's so dumb. Like, Curry still rings the ball up plenty of times and runs pick and roll and does the normal stuff that Dame does. That can happen throughout the game. The thing is, if the defense doesn't know that we're going to just bring the ball up with Dame and run pick and roll every time or run ISO with Dame every time, they don't know if he's going to be on ball or off ball, so that trap will be a second late. Or if they do trap, they decide not to trap maybe because they don't know what he's going to do off ball. It's just you have to mix it up and you have to have a way to counteract if they are doing it.
Yep, and here's the argument I'd make. Steph is a very good one-on-one player as well, but they were a 6th-seeded team when they were ISO heavy, right? Under Mark Jackson. And they fire Mark Jackson. Everybody's like, why would they fire Mark Jackson? Then they hire Steve Kerr, and everyone's like, he hasn't coached before. All the arguments that you guys use to, peace and love in Portlandia when he was around. All the arguments that you guys use to justify keeping Stotts for, like, the next millennia, right? But guess what? Steve Kerr comes in, they start moving the ball, they go from 6th-seeded team to champion. If they stayed that stagnant, they would not have won championships. They would not have been anywhere near as good as they were. They took a huge leap from 6th seed to champion because they brought in a new coach who took them from an ISO-heavy team to a team that moved the ball very, very well. And Steph is a really good isolation player. So I'm sure there's probably, Warriors fans at the start of that next season like, oh man, why do we hire Steve Kerr? Steph Curry is such a good isolation player, And then all of a sudden Steph Curry wins MVP. Yeah, he wins MVP and goes off and they win a championship. So, it's... But then the argument is, well, Dame isn't as good at playing off the ball as Steph is. Well, I wonder why. You know what I mean? Like, what is the difference there? Right? Yeah. Because you probably could have made the same argument about Steph before Steve Kerr became coach. They're ISO heavy and, Steph, they don't really do much off the ball. So hypothetically, because we don't see it, Steph can't play off the ball. And then Steve Kerr comes in and Steph is now the best off-ball player in the league. Meanwhile, we still have Terry Stotts, who's very ISO heavy. He's basically Mark Jackson. And we didn't make the right decision and let go of him, few years ago after that Pelican series. So, but yeah, the whole argument that Aminu lost us that series when he made over 3 threes a game, shooting 43% from 3, and his shooting being the problem in that series is just ridiculous. And that is proof that that personnel argument is not founded in any sort of fact. It's just a lazy BS as an excuse for the way the team plays, so for that argument.
And yeah, so he obviously doesn't listen to anything we said. Last game we told you guys the Blazers actually have less turnovers in the games they have over 25 assists than the games they have less than that. So you saying that he does have a plan to address double teams, but it's conservative because they're trying to avoid turnovers and an easy basket the other way is just this. You're just making stuff up that does not. That's not validated by anything that actually happens on the court. And then he says you can't run a play that everyone knows because they will read it and jump the passing lanes. Okay, so here's the deal. If Dame gets trapped, right, and you're looking for that guy in the middle of the paint, right, and that their defender jumps that pass, right, that means you have 3 guys with only 2 other defenders on the court, right?
Yep.
So you can either swing it to the other side, or this is where the cuts come in. All Dame would have to do in that situation is lob the ball up as close to the hoop as he could, and knowing that he had cutters, if that was the plan, they would be wide open.
Yeah,
and one of them would be wide open. All we would have to do is just get the ball near the rim, and we'd have an open dunk every single time.
I mean, they shouldn't run screens so much to the sideline when Dame's struggling with the trap. That's kind of one of the problems I have. Run it towards the middle, right? And have this big roll that way, and Dame's like getting trapped in the middle, so have it basically right here. Dame's comes off, this center would obviously come up here and trap, the point guard would trail and complete the trap, right? And then you have the big man roll. Who's going to jump this passing lane? The shooting guard? If that happens, literally just have the center screen down on him and have Trent run up to here, okay? And have Dame, Dame needs to keep his dribble alive, back dribble to get a good angle for this pass, and passes to Trent, wide open 3, okay? If who else is going to trap him? This small forward comes all the way over here to trap. You have a lob target here. Like, if Dame is struggling to get the ball out of the trap, that's when we should move, to using him off the ball more and not playing so much pick and roll. But if he can get the ball out of the trap, he has options. If they jump this passing lane, you got this guy cutting. If this guy comes over and helps, you have this power forward come up based on this guy helping. And Derrick Jones Jr. can set a screen down on him, and this is a wide open 3. So jumping the passing lanes, it's read and react basketball. Okay, so if they jump the passing lanes, it leaves something else open. Okay, you're not running the same set play where like, okay, you gotta pass it here, and then you gotta pass it there, and this guy always has to do this. No, it's teaching your players how to read and react to certain situations out there on the basketball court. If nobody helps on Cantor, hopefully Dame can deliver him the ball. He has a wide open lane. If they do help on Cantor, and then they help down on the small forward who cuts, this guy's open. It's a 4-on-3 for a reason, so there's always going to be one guy unguarded. So you got to position yourself in a way to exploit that and get the open man the ball in a good position to score. Like a Robert Covington along the 3-point line is a good position for him to score. He's a good 3-point shooter. A guy like Derrick Jones Jr., who's more of a finisher and cutter, you want to get him in positions where he can cut into open space and be an outlet out of the trap that way. So the whole narrative that, it's too predictable, they'll just run the passing lanes. Why don't you complain about our offense being too predictable when all we run is isolation and pick and roll, bro?
Yeah.
Great point. Apparently read and react basketball against the trap is too predictable, so we always got to run pick and roll every time down. It's such a bad argument.
And I posted a video for anyone who wants to see it on Twitter about a play that Golden State ran that was so simple and we could run it. But the thing is, even if it wasn't a called play, they do it so often that the players know that that's what they're supposed to do, and they just ran it, and Looney makes the pick for Curry and he's wide open. And they know where to pass to, they know where they're coming off. And this is the same thing if we had more freedom to the other players. They would eventually be better in it, and you want to take your lumps now, once again, just like the defensive stuff we talked about. So by the time the playoffs come around, we're such we're such pros at it that like we just annihilate anytime they try to trap Dame. And a good team would coach your players to be better in those situations instead of just saying, "Oh, it's what we do. Oh, Dame's gonna save us. It's just what he does." Like that's ridiculous that an NBA coach would not want more out of the other four guys on the court and has to rely on the one person to make plays, even though he's superhuman and can make plays sometimes out of it.
Yep. Honestly, I appreciate Peace and Love being around because he tees up all the pro Stotts arguments and then we just smash it out of the park. So I actually appreciate it, bro. I actually appreciate it. It helps us get better at making, our arguments against people that think exactly like that. So, yeah. And then see, let me read this off. See, because this is basically just the reason I am giving this attention is this is basically how the conversation goes between two sides of the Blazers community, right? This conversation is a lot like a lot of conversations that I have with other people. So we've made all these points, great points that I'm not sure he knows how to argue. So what does he say? I haven't even really read. I read the first 5 words of this. So, this is basically how it always goes. I can predict what is going to be said. You make a bunch of arguments that people can't argue because they're such good arguments, and it turns into, I know the shtick here is to complain, criticize, and civilians thinking they know more than a coach that has played NBA ball, coached NBA ball, and is winning. Reality is we're overachieving by far. See, I knew exactly what he was going to say, because that's how it goes with these people. That's how it goes. So, and then, it was fun, but your arguments are becoming repetitive. Yeah, okay, buddy. Just take the L and have a good night, because that is the last attention I'm giving you. If you don't see how this goes by now, I don't know what to tell y'all, man.
Let me get to a couple donos real quick. Drew with the $5 dono says Amina was playing very good for us. Dame was getting blitzed and Amina spotted up like Stotts told him to do. How do others not get it? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Aminu was good in that series, and we continued to run the pick and roll. The solution was to run it higher and higher or closer to half court. And so Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday and Rajon Rondo are trapping Dame at half court, and no one is around for him to pass to. And Anthony Davis is an extremely hard person to pass around to, but we're just inviting him to come trap Dame by bringing whoever he was guarding to screen Dame at half court. And then he'd often have the sideline and the half court line as extra defenders as well, because you can't cross those. It's just if you ever want a masterclass of what not to do if a team is trapping you, just go back and watch that series. Mm-hmm. And the sad part is we don't really do much different since that series. And that's why Tori and I get so heated when it comes to this argument, is because, I mean, that was, 3 seasons now away from that happening. This is the 3rd season since that series. So if you want to give him a pass in that one series because he wasn't prepared for it or whatever, that's fine. Maybe a little bit next year as you're learning to deal with it. But 3 years later, there is no excuse for it still being a problem and a reason why teams continue to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to need to think of a title for what this clip segment is going to be as a video. Shout out to chat. You guys, are in a video just because that was so typical of how things normally go down with the we got the All-Star break coming up, so you'll get a couple videos over the All-Star break. It's been a minute. We haven't uploaded a video all like regular season, so clip segment on that will go up. But overall, I mean, offensively we struggled.
No, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Andrew Miller, $5 dono said, "Hey guys, what do you figure the percentage of plays Dame gets doubled compared to other players is? Good work, fellas. Cheers." What's up, Andrew Miller?
They had a stat of like the players that get doubled, like how many times per game in the half court they get doubled, and Dame gets doubled like 28 times a game.
I want to say there was someone ahead of him. Well, there was
Luka.
Maybe.
Luka was the only one ahead of him. Yeah. But would you look at that? Who was Terry Stotts an assistant for before becoming the Blazers head coach? Rick Carlisle. Who does Rick Carlisle coach? Luka Doncic. Just I thought that was interesting that it was, Stotts' boy Carlisle, Carlisle's guy there with Luka. But the thing is, they play a lot better out of it. they play a lot better out of it. We have more talent, so we have a better record. We've had an easier schedule than they have, so we have a better record, but it's not by too much.
Here's the thing, though. Luka, I mean, I would trust Dame way more off the ball than Luka because he is the type that does need the ball to be effective, and there are players like that. I don't agree with Dame, and anyone who says that Dame would be mad or throw a fit if he played off ball, like, no one knows that. You're just making stuff up. Like I'm sure Dame would be upset getting that 3-point shot that I posted in the video that Steph got. Yeah.
Not having to work hard and then getting a wide open 3-point shot. Yeah, I'm sure he'd hate that. I'm sure he wants to go up against a double team and shoot a contested step back 30-footer at a full sprint. I'm sure, he would just, without that, he would demand a trade and become the next James Harden. Then we become the Houston Rockets. And, we can't become the Rockets, man. That's a shout out to an argument from last stream that was an argument. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I want to move on. And
Gordon had the exact numbers. Yeah, Luka 28.1 times a game or percent. I don't know, maybe it's percentage. Dame 27.7 and Trey 26.8.
Yep, appreciate it, bro. So let's talk about the players. This stream is going to be a little bit short tonight. We'll kind of go through the players, touch on the standings, and then sign off. We will have a stream tomorrow to preview the game we have tomorrow night, which is against the Kings, if I recall correctly, right? It's against the Kings? I don't remember who our game is tomorrow. Chat, help.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So we should go until All-Star break 21 and 14, right? Like, pretty good bounce back considering the 4-game losing streak. We will preview that game tomorrow and, take your questions over on Blazers Uprise Live, and we'll do picks against the spread. If you're not subscribed to Blazers Uprise Live, link is at the top of the description below. I'll also post it in chat if you guys want to quickly subscribe to it if you haven't already, so you can catch tomorrow's stream.
It is the Kings, yeah.
Yeah, just treat it as a pregame stream, so to say. You can watch it, an hour before the game as a video or whatnot. We go live around 3:30 to 4. I know I plug it all the time. Just got to continue to give that channel some light. But yeah, we will preview that game and maybe talk a little bit more about this one. But we got some players to get to. Let me find it here. I gotta set it to manual. There we go. We're starting off with Dame. 22 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 6 for 17 from the field, 3 for 10 from the 3-point line. Not a good efficiency night from him, so to say, but he came up when it mattered the most. He came up big when it mattered the most. He shot 8 free throws tonight, made 7 of them. He's kind of been struggling to get to the line lately. There was a few plays where he definitely wasn't getting the benefit of the whistle. I wish the refs respected him a little bit more and treated him like they treat a Luka Doncic or a James Harden or a Steph Curry. But, that's just the way it is. I mean, I can't really say Steph Curry tonight. He only shot 5 free throws. But Dame had another clutch performance after struggling all game long. And there's the ESPN ad. I even paused for that one because I saw it coming. But yeah, so stepped up big, had a good game late. You love to see it. It's very entertaining to watch him go nuclear in the clutch.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he didn't shoot the ball well tonight. But this guy just finds a way to get it done. And he did it tonight. And taking that charge was huge. And the 2 threes he hit at the end were huge. I mean, watching this guy in the clutch is just amazing. And like I said, it wasn't even the best offense or the most quality of shots, but they seem to go in more often than not. And so you'll gladly take it no matter what shot he gets.
Yep. Tying with Dame in terms of scoring leader, second guy we got is Carmelo Anthony, who is on a good run right now. 22 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, 8 for 13 from the field, 2 for 6 from the 3-point line. He was 6 for 7 inside the arc. That's pretty good efficiency. He's an efficient 3-point shooter. Let me just pull up the stats so I have him here. Going into this game, he was 39% from 3. He was shooting 41% from 2. 39% from 3 is good. It's worth 3 points per shot, right? 41% from 2, it's not good. It's only worth 2 points per shot. So, he struggled inside the arc to score the basketball. He's a career 47% shooter inside the arc. He's only shooting 41. So it's nice to see him go 6 for 7 on shots inside the arc, 2 for 6 from the three-point line, 33%. I mean, in one game, that's a decent percentage. You wanted to see him generally shoot close to 40 at this point in his career, but overall he hit a couple big time shots for us. And here's the thing with Melo, man, is he makes shots when it feels like we need a shot. It's like when the other team is on a bit of a run and we need somebody to get us a bucket, that's when he comes through. He comes through in situations where we need him to come through, I feel like. I've been critical of him this year because I want it to be more consistent, and I think he hurts himself at times with the style in which he plays. Tonight, I liked the style in which he played. I liked the shots he took. Defensively, I thought he was adequate, at least tonight. I didn't watch him too hard on the defensive end. I think he's not making as many silly mistakes in terms of his positioning as he was earlier in the season. So overall, very happy with his performance by Carmelo and happy with the way he's performed lately.
Yep, completely agree. Melo's been, for almost a month now, I'd say he's been a lot better. I mean, there's only a couple of games that stand out as even bad for, if you want to call our standards lower than others. He's been, I think for the last few weeks been really good, and I like to see that he's actually. I don't know if it's noticeable to you, but on defense, I feel like he's not falling asleep as much as he had been the last year and a half with the Blazers, and that's resulting in a few more stops and steals and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. Let me just. Okay, I'm gonna sidetrack. I said I wouldn't, but let me just destroy another peace and love argument, bro. Are you ready for 30 seconds? All right, because I see this argument all the time too, and I hate it. Stotts only had one All-Star for 9 years. CJ was most improved player, and that's it. CJ is All-Star quality, okay? Peak Nurkic is All-Star quality. Just because they don't make the All-Star game doesn't mean they're All-Star. They're not All-Star caliber players, right? CJ's averaging 27 and 5 so far this year. That is an All-Star level player. Even though he hasn't made the All-Star game doesn't mean he's not an All-Star level player. So give that man some respect and quit basing your analysis off a popularity contest when the talent in the West has been loaded compared to the East. So it's one-sided, and a lot harder for a guy like CJ to make it an All-Star game compared to maybe a guy like a Zach LaVine playing for the Bulls this year. So quit. That's a casual argument. I hate when people use All-Star appearances like that. And he's also the longest tenured coach with 10 years of experience who's coached 9 years in a row and not for the same team and not won a Western Conference Finals game. 9 years in a row for the same team and hasn't won a Western Conference Finals game. That's extremely rare. So his 10 years too long. That is my argument.
And as Gordon brings nothing but facts to the table.
I appreciate it.
When Kerr took over Golden State, they only had one All-Star as well. And so, yeah. So
maybe if we played a better style of basketball and, maybe had a better training staff or something, guys didn't get hurt as much, maybe we could have 3, right? I think, peak if Nurkic got back to what I know he can be, like what he could be at his peak, like he has the talent level and the ability, in my opinion, to be an all-star if the team is like, first or second in the West. If the team is first or second in the West, they definitely have 2 all-stars if CJ is healthy. 100% with that sort of team success. So that argument is just so casual and so bad. I hate it. Let's move on.
Well, let me just address one other thing that bothers me.
I should have got going on this, man.
Well, no, because I just want to say this. If your argument is what other coach could win a championship with this roster, you're asking the wrong question. So you're basically excusing a coach for not doing well at his job just because you don't think the roster is good enough to win a championship. But why do you always ignore the problems with this team then and the reasons like why we could improve? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're saying that, you're basically saying that Stotts is getting 100% or more out of this team than he is. And if you watch these games and really listen to what we're trying to tell you guys, that's just not possible. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. People are way underestimate the talent that is on this team. And when you have a star like Damian Lillard, this is a star-driven league. You have a top 10 player. you are never in a position where you are not, or you shouldn't be, at least in the conversation or doing the most you can to win games.
Yeah, I should have started with him. We gotta go on the players. I just wanted to respond to that argument specifically. Robert Covington tonight had another good game. 3 for 9 from the 3-point line. Had a stretch there where he was making some big plays for the Blazers. 15 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals. Doing it on both sides of the floor. Good to see from Rocco. He's finishing better than he was earlier this season. He's shooting 3-ball a lot better. This is, Rocco's starting to show us what we were expecting, This is what we expected out of Rocco. It took a little bit for him to get here, but now it's here, and he's stepping up big.
Yeah, like WN says, he took a really bad shot. He hit a 3 and then took like a contested one a little behind the line. He probably shouldn't have shot that one, but and then of course missing the 2 free throws at the end. Reese, I want to ask you about this. Reese said he missed the second one on purpose because they didn't have a timeout. But I don't like that strategy up 2 because
with 3.5 seconds left. If there's maybe like half a second left, I get it. But with 3.5 seconds left, no.
Because if Poole makes that shot, or whoever it was, Lee hits that shot, they win. Versus if they hit a half-court shot, at least it's still overtime if he makes that. So I don't necessarily agree with missing that on purpose. It worked out for us. But yeah, he's got to make those free throws in the clutch situation.
Blockboy says he'll be gone before we get to Simons, but Ant is terrible. He shot 40% from 3 today and 50% from 2 today, and didn't have a turnover. Had 4 rebounds, 8 points. You hate on that guy way too much, man. Way too much. But if you're gone before we get to him, I just wanted to address that, man, because I thought Ant had a fine game today. He just wasn't put in the easiest position. We'll talk about when we get there. Let's move on to the next player we got, which is Gary Trent Jr. 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 for 16 from the field, 1 for 8 from the 3-point line. He's kind of in a little bit of a shooting slump, it feels like. He got generally decent looks, I thought, this game. Didn't really knock him down. He was 5 for 8 inside the arc, so he's having better success scoring inside the arc. He's scoring a little bit more efficiently. He's getting to the rim a little bit more as a driver lately, so it's nice to see that. I would like to see that coupled with the 3-point shooting we know he's capable of. After this 3-point shooting performance, he might be under 40% from 3, which is a shame, but the dude is also playing a ton of minutes. So somebody asked about where'd Gary's scrappiness go. The dude played 40 minutes tonight. I don't know if we ever touched on that. It was Shaggy Squid's donation from earlier. Dude played 40 minutes tonight. He's playing an insane amount of minutes. I want to see him play with more hustle and whatnot. And it was kind of, he wasn't playing with the same hustle he was in the bubble at the start of the season. So it's definitely not just that. But, you just look at his game log. ESPN's going to keep playing things on me. But you look at his game log, right? He played 20 minutes the game before, but he has numerous games in the month of February where he's playing 40 minutes, 38 minutes, 37 minutes, 38 minutes, 39 minutes, which is a ton of minutes for a guy who is not used to it. Dame can still find ways to succeed playing, a heavy workload like that. Gary Trent Jr., I don't know. He might not be, truly ready to consistently perform while he's playing 38 to 40 minutes in a night. Most guys aren't capable of consistently performing when they're playing that many minutes. And you just look at his last 6 games shooting the ball. He was 4 for 11 from 3, 3 for 12, 4 for 11, 2 for 11, 2 for 4, 1 for 8. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not the shooting that we've grown accustomed to him providing.
Yeah, just once again, I wish we'd run some plays for him or something to get him off a screen or get an open look early in the game.
I thought he had decent looks tonight.
Yeah, he does. I think Eric's right. He does look a little tired out there. Like you said, that could be a minutes thing. We also, this game maybe not as much, but a lot of games we asked him to do a lot on defense, and that's, we saw this with Hood in previous seasons and last year before he got hurt. We just ask so much of our wings that aren't Dame and CJ to defend, and then they set a pick and they have to switch and they're constantly guarding the ball, whether it's their man or not, and that just takes a lot of effort to do that time and time again.
Yep. Peace and love. I will stop putting you in timeout once you come up with a legitimate argument. Let's move on to the next player we got, who is going to be Enes Kanter, 11 points, 14 rebounds, 1 block, 4 for 5 from the field. This is not a good matchup for Enes Kanter, right? I don't know, like, I would be worried if we played these guys in the playoffs. Just, this isn't the easiest matchup for him. I still think some people overreact to how bad, like they overestimate, or I don't know what the right word is. They exaggerate how bad he is defensively. He's not as bad as some people make him out to be, but there's people out there that'll find a way to make our players out to be bad any way they can, and Peace and Love is one of those guys. He will look for all the negatives he can in our players to try and make our roster seem bad, to make Stott seem good. And that's kind of the way that a lot of people are, man. And out there watching him on the floor, this isn't a good matchup for him. I think he's been actually adequate defensively, like okay-ish, maybe slightly below average defensively as our starting center in place of Nurkic. The thing is, that's pretty good for him. The reputation that he's terrible, I don't think he's been terrible. A matchup like this is kind of tough on him. There was some plays that he struggled. There's some plays where he was completely fine and did what he was supposed to. He rebounded the ball well. He finished well, 4 for 5 from the field. I don't really have too many complaints. The plays where he struggled defensively, I can't fault him for. It was kind of just him not having the physical tools, and that'll happen against a team like Golden State when you have Steph Curry coming off of screens and when you have as much player movement and screening action as they do.
Yeah, like you said, I thought he did about as well as he can do, and yeah, I'm not gonna blame him for that.
Yep. So next guy we got, I talked a little bit about Simons. What did you think of Simons tonight, Eric?
I thought he was fine. I got into a conversation with someone who's kind of an outsider, who always says that he doesn't see anything worth developing from him. But I made this point. Did you say
he's kind of a clown or kind of an outsider? I didn't hear you correctly.
No, not a Blazer outsider, like a legit person who watches from another part of the country that's not necessarily invested in the Blazers.
Dang, that's unfortunate. Okay, that guy. Okay, So, maybe we need a different terminology for that.
Outsider was a bad word. Sorry,
yes.
But like someone who is kind of impartial to the whole Blazer situation, all that kind of stuff. But he was saying, well, how come you don't see him create for others or facilitate or do this kind of stuff? And my point is, if this is what the coaching staff wanted for him, if they wanted him to just run the offense and pass the ball out and drive and kick out to shooters, he would be doing that. You would see him. Simon seems like a coachable guy. You would see him making the effort to do that and not looking for his shots. But instead, they're like, okay, go be Dame. And to a young player who didn't even have a chance in college to learn an offense and run a team and all that kind of stuff, that means to him, go score the basketball, right? And they don't really do anything to correct it, because if this was the thing being coached and we were running plays around him and it was designed for him to create and kick out, you would see that at least trying to be accomplished on the floor, and I don't think that I see that at all. So I believe Simons is doing exactly what the coaches want him to do: shoot threes and drive when it's there. They're not emphasizing passing at all, and this is not just a Simons thing. We are last in assists, like we talk about all the time. We have no off-ball movement, especially with our second unit, even though they tried to lie and tell us that the second unit is going to feature all kinds of off-player movement and sets and plays and all that kind of crap. That's not happening. But this is not a problem with Simons. It's a problem with the way he's being coached if you want him to be the point guard.
Yep. Apologies to that guy if he is watching. Outsider is basically a code word for somebody else, all right? So, Yes. Okay.
That was my bad using that word.
I'm laughing at something completely unrelated. If you guys want to see what I'm laughing at, go to ESPN.com and look at the top headlines section. And there's a headline that is just you'll know it when you see it. Let's move on and talk about Derrick Jones Jr. I don't know why I had Ant in front of Derrick Jones Jr. I think Derrick Jones Jr. had more points. Normally, that's how I sort it. Oh, well. Did you see the headline I'm talking about?
The Embiid one?
Yes. That's the...
I don't even know if I could read that.
No, I'm not going to read it out loud, man. But if you guys want to know what I was laughing at, go check the top headlines on ESPN and look at the Embiid one. I wonder if whoever made that headline is just like, purpose? Yeah, did it on purpose or on accident. Derrick Jones Jr., 8 points, 4 rebounds in his 19 minutes tonight. Had a pretty decent game, 2 for 4 from the three-point line. He's been shooting the three ball well. His percentage is now north of 32%, probably up to 33% after this game. He's been shooting the ball really well in the past, 12 games or so. He's been shooting around 40% from three. You love to see that out of him. Would like to see that mixed with a heavier diet of, maybe set plays featuring him as a lob target, as a cutter, and just, when Dame gets trapped out of freelance, I would like to see him cutting sometimes when he is shooting threes. I think that is how you would achieve peak Derrick Jones Jr.
Yep, I completely agree. It needs to be utilized as a cutter more. That gets him pumped up as well. I feel like he plays better defense too when he gets a couple of lobs and is pumped up and yelling after those dunks. That gets him going on defense, right? Mm-hmm. And then I did think it was interesting that deep into the fourth quarter they did have Hood instead of Derrick Jones in the game. I thought that was interesting. Don't know if that was good or not, but yeah, I just like to see him used a little better so he can get some easier shots.
I knew chat would love that that headline. Oh my goodness. And Peace and Love is still talking to himself. I told you I'd stop banning you when you came up with a legitimate argument, and lineup trash is not a legitimate argument.
Well, so what games? Yeah, no, I'm not even saying. Let's move
on.
Just tell me what you think.
No. We ain't gonna.
No, in here, yeah.
Well, I just timed him out for another 5 minutes because I told him I was gonna give him 5-minute bans until we came up with a legitimate argument. We're helping you improve your argument. Actually, we're not, since you're not listening. Rodney Hood.
Can you just say what you normally say to those kind of arguments?
Who, me?
Yeah.
What do I normally say? I don't even know.
What are those takes called?
Oh, yeah. Surface level casual takes. What? Drink to that? Yeah.
Fun drinking it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Shoot, you're right. Rodney Hood, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 5 from the three-point line. Inefficient night for him. Struggled defensively, I thought. I don't know. Hit or miss with him. I mean, it's all the stuff we normally say. He's inconsistent at this point and not consistent enough to really justify playing him a whole lot, but he has equity with this team, and I don't know, I think this franchise is still hoping he'll kind of get back to the form that he showed last year, or at least the form he showed the year before for us, and I don't necessarily blame him for that. It's just, if this continues on, you have to wonder if he might be a player who gets moved at the trade deadline, considering he is a $10 million contract.
Yeah, are they trying to, at this point, are they trying to showcase him for that? Or are they trying to just hope he just needs time and figures it out? I don't know. It's hard because, there's moments in the game where I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing. It's just he hasn't been able to put it together consistently. And I'll just say, for the record, I wasn't expecting much from him this year. I think it's kind of unrealistic. Durant, for example, had a full almost 6 months, I think, on him in terms of when their injuries took place. I think you just got to be patient with him, but the problem is people nowadays don't want to be patient at all. And the Blazers themselves you have a guy like Nas who might not have had the best argument for playing more this game, but in terms of overall so far the last few weeks, I think you can make a case that he should be playing Hood's minutes right now.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. Speaking of Nas, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 0 for 4 from the field, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. I have a problem with how he played. He missed some shots, but it's not like he was able to get quality looks, and that was a product of our offense. He's still super efficient on the season. I still think he deserves 20 minutes a game. Only played 13. I think he plays better when he plays more minutes. I already made these arguments early in the stream and on previous streams before. You guys know how I feel about Nas.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
You feel the same way, don't? Or is there anything like you disagree with on that, or do you feel the same way?
No, I kind of put him. It's weird because he's, to me, the best of both worlds between a shooter and a cutter, because he can cut like Derek Jones and get those lobs or easy baskets, and he's proving this year that he's more than capable of shooting open threes. So guys like this, it's really hard to stop that if you have good designs and try to get him a shot instead of just having him come in and run around for 5 minutes and then hopefully he makes a shot if he gets the ball or whatever. I just wish when he comes in we try to get him going, or like last game he brought the ball up twice in a row and kicks out to an open shooter and he gets 2 assists on 2 straight plays. So yeah, I just wish once again we'd use our personnel better.
Yep, agreed with that. So that is the players from tonight's game. Let me pull up the standings. We'll look at the standings here. You have the Phoenix Suns, who have moved into second place. The Jazz are in first place. I see those teams doing that, and it's like, man, I feel like that should also be us up there with the Suns. We're only 3 games back of the second spot. We're also only 2.5 games ahead of the 10th spot. So the standings kind of separated. It seems like they're kind of bunching back together a little bit. Right now you got 10 teams in the West that are above 500. So that'll happen when you have as many competitive teams as that. We are still in 5th place. We are 2.5 games behind the 3rd place Clippers and the 4th place Los Angeles Lakers. Both those teams have a record of 24-13. We are sitting at 20-14. The Suns are a half game ahead of both those teams. They're 23-11. The Jazz are still in first at 27-9, but they have lost 2 in a row and have only won 6 out of their last 10. I say only, that's still above 500, and we've only won 6 of our last 10, but considering the start they started on, that is coming back down to earth a little bit. They do have one of the easiest second half schedules. That's the thing that's been so impressive about the Jazz, is they've done it over a very hard schedule. Meanwhile, we've had one of the easiest schedules in the league, and it's only going to get tougher. At least we should get some reinforcements back after the All-Star break at some point. So Spurs are in 6th, half game behind us. Nuggets are in 7th, a half game behind us. The Mavericks are currently in 8th, tied with the Warriors for 8th place, the team that we just beat. If we lost this game, we would have been we would have been in 7th. No, we would have been in 8th, Eric. We would have been in 8th if we lost this game. Believe it or not, because the Warriors would have the tiebreaker over us and we'd be behind the Spurs and the Nuggets. So, it's not like I don't know, everybody's talking about how amazing we've done. We lose this game and Dame doesn't hit that super clutch 3, or maybe doesn't take that charge, one singular play, and we would be tied for 8th with the Mavericks right now. Barely ahead of them because of the tiebreaker with them. So definitely no room to get complacent. We haven't achieved anything yet. This team still has to work on some flaws and get better, especially in the second half of the season. But they got an opportunity here to get home court advantage as well. So I hope they make the most out of it.
Yeah, big game tomorrow night. Go into the All-Star week off with a 3-game win streak and then have a chance to refresh. Maybe in a week or two we talk about possibly getting some of our guys back as well. And this is the thing. You can talk all you want about how we're overachieving now, but then I don't want to hear it when the schedule tightens up if we have all the problems we've been mentioning that are going to plague us later in the season, if those aren't addressed and we start losing games and all of a sudden slip back to 500 or worse, or are fighting for a play-in spot versus home court advantage, I don't want to hear you then say that's fine too. Like, look how good we're doing with all this, since we don't have a good roster and all that stuff. Like, don't talk about that now and then not think that's an issue when our record is not good if it isn't later in the season.
Yep. This Kings game is a game we should win. We'll preview it tomorrow on Blazers Uprise Live. Link in the description. Follow us on Twitter at TorreyJonesYT for me, at HoopsJock for Eric, at Blazers Uprise YT for the channel. After that Kings game, we will get a full highlights reaction. I might do like a film breakdown video for channel members only over the All-Star break, since, we'll have some time off, and, have that as one of your guys' videos. I wasn't able to get 4 out in February, so that's might be how I make it up to you, channel members. Hit the join button below if you want to become a channel member. I appreciate all of my channel members. You guys mean a lot to me. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you over on Blazers Uprise Live tomorrow. Hope to see you there. And until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.